I have been trying to get back into reading, and it's been so fucking hard because I love iPhone and I love playing games on my iPhone. So it's been really hard for me to get into reading because of this. I also look really pale. I look like those one edits. I was going through a K-pop phase. All love.
Got blood rush to my head, they hot like popping off the fucking block. Now clocking wristlet watch been thought.
I want to talk about Quan Millz, and I'm not just here to say that his books are bad or to rag on him. I actually want to have a discussion and talk about Quan Millz as a writer, as an author. I think a lot of people know Quan Millz from the book This Hoe Got Roaches in Her Apartment. Really prevalent text, really prevalent modern text to literature as we know it. So the book that interests me the most was Pastors Eat Pussy 2 by Quan Millz. It has some of my favorite things: religious imagery, sex scenes, I don't know, religious imagery and sex scenes. Those are like my favorite two things that could be in a novel. So the book features the main character, Nunu. And the main character, Nunu, is a stripper. Occasionally she does some prostitution work, and that's where our exposition starts. Actually, the exposition starts in like a little cheat sheet page where it gives us a sneak peek into the climax of the story, which I thought was an interesting choice. So our exposition starts when she is doing a sort of prostitution deal. So 3 parties in this prostitution deal. There's another stripper from her club, there's Nunu herself, and there is this fat guy. And as we're getting into everything and Nunu's preparing to fuck this guy, I don't know how to speak about this like in a rated way. Her stripper partner is like, no, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't really fuck fat guys. Like, I don't want him to crush me. And Nunu's like, and thinking in her mind, like, this bitch is stupid. I'm gonna beat her ass if she doesn't fuck this guy, which is terrible. Like, you shouldn't say those things. That's why she didn't say them. She's not a bad person. She didn't say it out loud. But eventually she psychs her into it. She's like, it's $6,000. $6,000, we have to do this. So eventually the guy comes in, busts through the door. Pew! It's actually a detective. Fuck. Nunu and her stripper friend go to jail for prostitution and money wiring via Cash App. I don't know why. I have a script. I barely read from it. I remember the entire plot. And Nunu finds out that her strippering buddy that didn't really want to do it in the first place because she didn't want to get crushed by a big fat guy, snitched, ratted on her, told the entire operation, told everything about it. She gets bailed out by one of her rich friends. Yeah, so she's let out on the caveat that she has to do 300 hours of community service. Now, the community service that she does is at a local church. But it's okay because the local church pays pretty well. It is also connected to the mayor. So the mayor is like the head pastor, and then there's another pastor that Nunu finds herself attracted to, but she kind of finds out that he's maybe a homosexual. Community service is helping this guy canvas to be mayor and do that sort of thing, call people, set up fundraisers, set up all this type of fucking politico type shit. She's getting paid like, I think about $30 an hour, which is a fucking beautiful rate. And she's actually doing well in her life. Her mother's starting to like her again. One day, this mayor slash pastor asks her like a question, and he's like, well, he's about to ask her a question. He says, Nunu, come here, girl, let me ask you a question. And in her mind, she's thinking he's about to say, can I suck your dick? And so she says that out loud. She says, do you want me to suck your dick? And he's appalled. He's like, no, I was gonna ask you to go full-time with us. $30 an hour, 40 hours a week. That's not bad money for like no college degree, fresh out of stripping. Not bad money for community service, like not at all, like almost fucking stellar. But anyway, he's so appalled that he fires her, and he's like, that's fucking disgusting, why would you say that? And she's automatically pissed off. She's like, that's not such a crazy question. Well, she doesn't tell him this, but in her head she's like, that's not such a crazy fucking question because I know you're a slut. Like, I know you're a slut. So she gets a plan of blackmail. Basically, Nunu is like, I'm gonna blackmail this guy because I have a video of him doing explicit sexual acts. I believe he pees on a girl's face. So she goes up to him and says to him, hey, I have these videos. you're gonna give me $300,000. He goes down. He's like, please, let's just do 150. That's too much for taxes. Like, people are gonna find out. I really don't have that much. Whatever fucking thing he could say to manipulate her into going down. So she's like, okay, fine, we can do 150. And he's like, okay, let's meet here and I'll give you the money and you delete the video. Perfect, fine. So, is my shirt on backwards? So they go to meet up at this hotel and it's perfect. She's about to get her money. I'm thinking, okay, this is great. Like, finally we get some relief for our character, because even when I think that she's getting some relief, she gets fucked. So as she's going along, she goes into the hotel. She is like, okay. And he's like, I'll give you $50,000 if you let me eat that. Yeah. And she's like, okay. And this is the part of the book that I can't put down. This is actually the part of the book that I had to put down while I was reading in class. But it's also the part of the book that I was looking forward to after class to finish it, because I was getting real weird. Like, stuff was getting real weird for me. So she's like, yeah, you can eat this, meow meow. She's like, yeah, you can eat this, yeah. They have fun together. They have fun together. After they're having fun together, he propositions her like, please don't do this. You know, I can give you a job here and I can work this out for you. And she's like, no. And then he's like, you're a stupid bitch. Boom. The detective bursts through the door again, because duh. And he's like, okay, so this is also prostitution. And Nunu's screaming. She's like, no, he's corrupt. He's a crook. He's a this. She had no fucking plans. She had no plans to, just in case he decides to arrest her, to like, she had none of that. And, so she goes to prison again. This time for longer, because she keeps prostituting. So what happens eventually is, when she's in prison, she finds out that she's pregnant. And then she finds out she has HIV. So Nunu is essentially fucked, but also not fucked, because this is proof that the pastor actually did have sex with her and he has HIV. So after we're finding this out, again, we think, okay, Nunu's gonna get a little bit of reprieve. She's gonna get out of prison. She's gonna get some compensation. The fucking pastor kills himself. And this is when I start to get really fucking tweaked off. So this is probably the worst book that I've ever read, and it was really bad. It was really bad. It was also very offensive. But what I want to talk about is actually this idea of the black novel. So when I was reading this book, it reminded me instantly of another book I read by Percival Everett. And this book is called Erasure. And in the book, I forgot the main character's name, but the main character is basically this very well-read, very well educated black man, and he writes books. With his books, he compares it up into his literary peers, other black people that are writing the same books but are more popular. Those books happen to be black novels. The idea of a black novel. Now, this idea is basically a caricature of the black person in a novel or movie, like, let's say, Tyler Perry. It has a lot of violence, it has a lot of baby mamas, it has a lot of stereotypical black things that maybe other races put on black people, or society has put on black people throughout time. I do find it interesting, because does the black novel have a place in the reading, like, in the reading world? Is this a book that should be written? Is it important for this book to be featured? Is this an important piece of literature? And just because I think it's stupid, or I think it's not, it doesn't have good prose, just because the fucking main character, the pretentious guy in Erasure, doesn't like it, or doesn't like these black novels and find them to be stupid or offensive, does that mean that it's wrong or bad? And I find this really interesting, because I just don't know. It's something that I'm not sure about, or I don't know. I think maybe, yes, it does have a place. Maybe this is somebody's life. Maybe maybe somebody can relate to this. Personally, though, I don't think, I think they're highly dramatized. I believe in the book, like, the person writing these weren't, like, didn't live this life. They didn't live this life. But what I think, yeah, it is highly dramatized, exaggerated. It's a bit exaggerated. You know, this book, we can talk about language. This book uses AAV, or, you know, more thing that, or ebonics, what people used to say. Not the best prose, and is me saying it's not the best prose kind of fucked up, because maybe that's not important. Now, personally, to me, when I'm talking, when I'm communicating to somebody, I do not correct the way that people say things or the way that people communicate, because as long as I can understand somebody, or if I even have to try harder to understand somebody but they're speaking the same type of English as me, maybe it's a little bit more broken, I'm gonna try really hard. You know why? Because I'm not a dickhead. That's probably one of my big problems with the French. And actually, my problem with this book wasn't the prose, to be honest. My problem with this book, mostly, you know, I can get into that. I think there are different types of prose or different types of grammar things that we can take away. I don't think that grammar, and I don't think large structures of writing or parameters of writing are very important. I don't think it's very important to getting a point across as long as people can understand you. I do not believe in large scale, like, scales of grammar. I mean, it's crazy to relate Quan Millz to Sally Rooney in any way, but some people hate that Sally Rooney doesn't use quotation marks. I fucking like it. I think it adds character. I think certain things in a book, when we take out grammatical things, or when we take away the hardness and the caveats, we can actually get more pure writing and more, you know, cracked open real writing. I really like that she takes away the quotation marks, because I can start to characterize the characters in my head. I know when Connell's speaking, I know when Marianne's speaking. I know these things because I understand the character, because instead of kind of drowning out in the brain, she's forcing me to pay attention, like, hey, who is saying this, who is saying this? And I think that's really nice and really beautiful. But like I said, that's not really my problem with this book. Mostly my problem is how predictable it was. I don't think, I think my problem with it was the structure of the writing and the story of it. If it wasn't for the structure of the writing and the way that he treated the protagonist without adding any reprieve or any kind of final destination, I can't really get into the book completely. But other than that, I did not think it was that bad. And for moments of the book, I did want to know what was going to happen next. Like, for better or for worse, I was into the book. But the ending was just so fucking stupid. It was so fucking stupid.
So I know, with all this being said, that I did say that it was the worst book that I've ever read. And that is true. And it is mainly residing on endings, because endings are really, really big for me. The ending really fucked it up. Like, I have never read an ending that was that terrible. I've also never read a book where the character was treated that poorly, and that really messed things up for me. I don't really like when writers hate their main character or hate things, you know. I don't like books, any kind of book where any character gets overly battered. I mean, to even connect it to Little Lies, like, I think that book is super fucking stupid. So
I do think there's places for the books, and I do think there's places for works like Medea, or things made for certain groups that are intrinsic to their being, or maybe characterized in their way, or, you know, uses ebonics or uses certain things that maybe is foreign to other people, but it's not for those people, it's for this certain group. I think things should be made by black people for black people. So yeah, would I like to see maybe some better writing? Yeah, but would I maybe be interested in what I read in another book? I won't say no. I won't say no. I would rather read a Quan Millz book than a Colleen Hoover book. I would. I also, if you've read this book, please comment down below. I couldn't find anybody that's read this book other than Goodreads nerds. Bye bye.